We don't want to think our heroes would ever be dishonest to their partners. That's not what a hero does. But it is what a complex character does, and for that reason, we at Top 10 Nerd can bring you part 2 of the top 10 superheroes who cheated on their partners. Coming in at number 10 today is Aquaman. Aquaman and Mera are one of the most well-known comic book couples. Like, those two just go together. It's just how it is. But for a good chunk of time, that was in danger. Thanks to the hands of Black Manta in Adventure Comics number 452 from 1977, their family had been broken apart, and this couple became pretty estranged from one another, with Mera running off to live in a separate dimension and Aquaman being all sad and lonely at home. But while Mera, who totally abandoned Arthur, stays faithful to the relationship, our lonely sad boy Aqua King, he finds some solace in a woman named Dolphin. Now, before I read this comic, or more into the backstory, I always thought people meant that Aquaman dated a literal dolphin, and no, that ain't the case, as far as I know. If you're into that though, I turn you to The Deep from The Boys TV show. But while Arthur is enjoying his time with Dolphin, Mera shows back up in Aquaman number 12 and totally catches these two in the act. A fight breaks out, but I guess this is chill in Atlantis because Mera does forgive the hero and they get back together and Dolphin runs off with Tempest. Yay! Number 9, Human Torch. So how do I explain this? Okay, so when Dr. Doom was looking for a wifey to become Queen of Latveria and to help him rule, he chose Victorious, his most loyal follower and herald. She obviously and gladly said yes, but unbeknownst to Dr. Doom, the night before that happened, Victorious and Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, defended Latveria's treasures together and somehow found themselves getting it on. I'm sure Doom would be a little unhappy, but it's actually Johnny who was the one doing the cheating here. Johnny has a soulmate by the name of Sky who shares a connection with Johnny, and she instantly sensed his cheating with the Symkarian bride-to-be. But then also, Johnny goes to this wedding in Fantastic Four Volume 6 issue number 33 and just causes problems. Meaning, Victorious totally tells Doom about the encounter in the middle of the wedding ceremony. Doom responds how you'd imagine Doom would respond. Number 8, Rex Splode. In the world of Image Comics Invincible, people do some bad things for some pretty interesting reasons, which gives a lot of characters their own unique personalities. Take Rex Splode for example. He is basically able to charge objects to make them explode, kind of like Gambit from the X-Men. But while Gambit was actually pretty cool, and sometimes a jerk, Rex Splode is just a huge jerk all the time. He's rude, sassy, sarcastic, immature, arrogant, and argumentative. He makes crude jokes about his own friends slash teammates, but usually gets his butt handed to him when he takes off the wrong person. But at the same time, he is truly a hero, and he does fight tooth and nail for the same friends that he will make fun of. When the story kicks off, this hothead is dating Adam Eve, and he was weirdly possessive of her, which managed to turn on its head when he completely cheated on Adam Eve with another team member, Duplicate, and a few of her duplicates in the shower. In the Teen Team headquarters of all places too. The worst part about this one is that Eve walked in on the whole thing. This did open up Eve to start seeing Invincible though, so I guess it all turned up roses. Number 7, Betty Ross. For a book that's about a giant green monster that's potentially a vessel for a Lovecraftian monster that preys on the nightmares and rage of mankind, Immortal Hulk has a lot of heartfelt moments. Which is a weird thing to say when this is a list of cheaters. Basically, this is because Betty Ross cheats on Bruce Banner with Bruce Banner. Or technically she cheats with an aspect of Bruce. Betty and Bruce's relationship is complex. They were so good together at first, but obviously the Hulk makes things complicated, and Bruce has a lot of childhood stuff and daddy issues to get through, like a metric butt ton of it. Eventually, Betty passed away, but she came back and became the Red She-Hulk, and then she fused that persona with that of her Harpy persona that she becomes sometimes, so that she was the Red Harpy Hulk thing, or whatever. Essentially, in Immortal Hulk issue 48, while Hulk was Joe Fixit, he and Betty, as the Red Harpy, got it on. She even talked about how closed off Bruce is to her compared with the Joe Fixit persona and even other personas of the Hulk. Now, I'm glossing over a lot of the details here, so if I misread this, please let me know in the comments what you think of it, because I'm still debating if this counts as cheating or not. Number 6. Atom. The Justice League superhero known as the Atom had a pretty great wife, Jean Loring, but It's a comic book, so of course these good things can't always last. Jean and Ray have been involved before Ray was even a superhero, meaning yes, they were into each other without the whole weird power dynamic thing. But obviously, that changes. Jean fell in love with Ray, but she struggled to get on board with the whole superhero, my life's always in danger and therefore so are you thing, meaning she was constantly put in danger. The relationship struggled and they both each had their own little entanglements. Her cheating gave us the Sword of the Atom though, which made a lot of people love the character of the Atom. But still, she cheated. But it also involved him going and finding a tiny little micro-civilization in the jungle, and then he had his entanglement with their micro-princess. I guess it kinda makes sense when you can change your size like that, but I don't know. Then, Jean becomes some crazy powerful villain, and it's just a whole whack of not fun. I don't know. Crazy. Number 5, Mystique. Mystique is one of those characters that is actually more deep and complex than some might initially think. Thanks to her powers, she has been around for a much longer amount of time than you might think too. Once upon a time, Mystique was married to a regular dude named Christian Wagner. Now if that last name sounds familiar, you may know where this is going. While still married, Mystique ends up meeting a new, interesting guy from a pretty exotic place. His name is Azazel. He is a demon-looking mutant from the Brimstone dimension. Sounds lovely, honestly. Or that's what Mystique apparently thought as she cheated on Christian Wagner with Azazel, and even had his baby. A little demonic-looking mutant baby with blue skin who would come to be known as Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler of the X-Men. I think one of the worst parts about Mystique's actions here though is that when Christian suspects what she's done, she totally just takes his life. What's up with that? Number 4, Pepper Potts. Speaking of messed up, unlike her MCU counterpart, Pepper Potts, or Rescue as she is known in superhero form, in the comics actually winds up with Happy Hogan instead of Tony Stark. And she was not as good of a girlfriend as the MCU makes her out to be. Actually, she was not as good of a wife because her and Happy actually got married. Unfortunately, the marriage did not go the happy route anyone wanted though. That's because it ended with the revelation that Pepper Potts was and had been cheating on her husband with an old high school boyfriend of hers. The scandal, my god. The worst part is she tried to back it up by saying that she thought Happy was cheating on her too, but he totally was not. Number 3, Black Canary. Now, I want to preface this point by saying this instance of cheating actually happened in a fill-in issue of Justice League of America, and it was almost instantly forgotten about as if it never even happened. So basically, both Black Canary and Green Arrow were at odds with the world, so the writers felt that they were perfect to explore feelings for each other. The relationship developed as time went on until they finally became a couple. This was established well before the writer at the time, Denny O'Neil, ended his run at Justice League of America number 83. Robert Kanigher wrote a fill-in issue before Mike Friedrich took over the book with issue number 86, and in his fill-in issue, he decided that Black Canary was actually still open and available for a certain big-time leaguer. The Batman. It's very strange. Basically, Batman bursts into where Black Canary is on vigil in order to take over. Like, he literally busts in there. With nothing to do and apparently no one to go hang out with, she asks if she can hang out with Batman. And he says he'd enjoy her company, which makes her go all, oh my god, but you're Bruce Wayne, you have so many girls around you all the time, you'd enjoy my company? And then he's all like, yeah, but the only girl I want got away from me a long time ago. And then he gets super emotional, and then so does she, and Batman gives her a big old bat hug, and quote, in their loneliness, they are just so randomly drawn to each other, and then they kiss. Immediately, they both are like, oh my god, I feel so guilty, and they run off separately, only for Black Canary to later call him a brother and ask for tips on how to handle her relationship with Ollie, and he gets super jealous. It's really weird, and it's just abandoned. But it happened. Number 2, Tim Drake. Everyone in the Bat family has time for romance somehow, and while I knew about Batman and Nightwing's relationships, I had no idea about Tim Drake's. Well, at least I didn't know about his very first girlfriend, Ariana. They were a pretty cute couple, to be honest. He protected her father from the Russian mob, or at least tried to, and he saved her directly from the mob as well. But things got a little complex when Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler, entered the picture. Clearly, Tim was somewhat smitten with Spoiler, and obviously Ariana picked up on peacefulness. Despite Tim telling her that she shouldn't worry about Stephanie, he found himself going out on patrols as Robin a lot more with Stephanie, and they even kissed, although that was more Stephanie than it was Tim. Luckily, before things went too far, Tim ended things with Ariana, but still stayed friends at least for a little bit. And finally, in at number 1, it's Batman. Batman may be a pretty stoic, grumpy detective, but Bruce Wayne is quite the ladies' man, and sometimes those worlds, they clash. Actually, it happens a lot of the time. Of all his lovers, Selina Kyle, Catwoman seems to be the favorite of the people, which is an interesting choice for a man who is pretty justice inclined. What some people may know is that Batman himself has almost always had big eyes for someone that just makes way more sense: Wonder Woman. When Bruce was engaged to Selina during Tom King's run on Super Friends, he ended up getting quite a bit of alone time with Diana. Batman and Wonder Woman found themselves living together in the realm for over 37 years, and they definitely, bonded. While it's not entirely confirmed, Selina was almost entirely certain that Bruce cheated on her, and honestly, I think he did too. But that's all I've got. Got some suggestions for a possible part 3? Well, sling them on down to the comments down below. But until next time, I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd, I'll catch you all on the flippy flop. Peace out, nerds!